Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the R07 engines. Thank you for Sunoco Racing Fuel and Goodyear tires that bring performance and power to the track. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. My two children, Eli and Emma, or as we like to call them, the little E's. Lord, I pray you bless the drivers and use them tonight. May they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, 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 amen.
Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could lose this crowd. Maybe it's better this way. We hurt each other with the things we want to say.
Well, I'm at home, baby. I'm at home, motherfucker. Woo!
Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could lose this crowd. Maybe it's better this way. We hurt each other with the things we want to say. We could have. Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could lose this crowd. Maybe it's better this way. We love each other.
Okay, so listen. I know this is a last minute, unscheduled live, okay? But it's happening because we have something to celebrate, something fantastic. Now, before we get to it, let me just pull something up for you real quick. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Wrong thing, wrong thing. I have it flipped. Hold on. Let me put this on quiet because I'm going to show you something that we did. And I'm sorry if I'm being quiet. But I have a sleeping Hugin near me and I don't want to awake him. He will be cranky. He just went down for a nap. We had a long morning. But I am going to get right into it today and we can do sillies after because this is that big of a deal. It's that important. First, not going to toot my own horn or our own horn, but I am. Remember how I said, like, kind of weird? Like, I agree. Some of you brought it up, and at first, you know, I don't believe in fucking psychic shit, but I might be psychic because what the hell happened last night shook me to my core. I knew it was coming. I said it was coming. I said it's going to happen. But it took a minute, and I went, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a ding-dong. Maybe I'm an idiot. And then it happened, and the news dropped. Something that I strongly suspected, and that is a link in the case of Linda Rutledge out of Kentucky to the yogurt shop murders. And it is indeed Robert Eugene Brashears. Now, we've talked about this a few times. And for those who forgot, I made a lovely chart. And I'm just really feeling our snoopiness today because I believe I even polled you guys and said, what do you think between this case and two other cases? What is the case where the DNA connects that helped them solve the yogurt shop murders and vice versa? What is the case that has matching DNA and involves critical components that are reflective of Brashears' behavior at crime scenes? We talked about Mr. Maroon. We talked about the Las Cruces bowling alley. We talked about how Las Cruces was where he got stopped. And they found the weapon, but they didn't realize that it was him. He was stopped at the border. And I told you about how they were connecting it to another case out of Kentucky, but they didn't tell us where, I believe. And I said, it's one of 3 cases. And then after analyzing it for a while and talking to you guys, I was like, it's got to be her. So I went ahead and put it on a timeline for Robert. And we talked about this. And news just came in that this is the correct case. This is the case. And I just wanted to go back and show you where we talked about this. And I'm not showing you this because I'm like, whoa, I was right. You were wrong. There was nobody really contesting it. I mean, a lot of people were just like, this is interesting. I'm showing you this because I kind of want to show you how all the other stuff got ruled out on the timeline. It was a 3-page timeline. And what the similarities were as far as escalation goes, and to show you that sometimes, we're not all dummies. And when we put our heads together, we can be right about things. This is good news. And it's really exciting for this family because they deserved answers. Now, the reason that I was pretty sure this case was going to get brought up was because of the fire element and the timing. So I'm going to show you something. This is actually from a live we did. You guys might see, you're definitely going to see some of you guys talking about in the chat on the screen. You're going to see you guys talking about, why is it doing this? Hold on one second. My mouse is going insane. Let me turn it off and on again. I've been having some wonky issues with equipment. Okay, whatever. We'll just leave it there. Wild. That is interesting. It no matter where, if I just move my mouse without touching anything, it's just making it go up and down. I have no idea why it's doing this. Might have a short somewhere. Okay, whatever. I want to show you where we talked about this case, and then I'm going to show you the information that came out, just for a refresher for those of you who missed it. And some of you were here for this. And for those who weren't here, I want you to be able to see it. Now, let me make sure that it is on the best possible quality, which hopefully one day I'll get a better camera and it'll be way better quality. But this live that we did was right after the yogurt shop murders were announced a few weeks ago. So right here at the bottom, you can see is announcement coming soon for Lexington, Kentucky murder of Linda Rutledge, November 7th, 1998, question mark. And you're going to see others that I ruled out, and you're going to see why. But I'm going to go ahead and play this for you so that you guys can get an idea of this timeline. And for those of you who missed it, this will be your first time seeing it. There's a gun on her. She struggles. She gets oops. And I hate hearing my own voice. So let me go back to Haynes's comment. Comment is where it starts. So it's right after here. All right, here we go. So check this out. And then I'm going to show you the press conference and what was announced. And then we'll do some sillies when we're done. He had the opportunity to molest anybody who was an adult, including women, and he chose the 14-year-old child. So I would definitely say that that is one of many paraphilias that this guy has. Then 2 hours. Okay, so these could be right next to each other. I should stress that this is 2 hours later. So they're found at 7. He likely committed the crimes between 6:30. The husband walks in and finds his daughter and wife like that. He's already over the state line back in Tennessee. All right. It takes, I think, 45 minutes to get over the state line from there. So within 2 hours or 2.5 hours later, 45 minutes away, an attempted home invasion and shooting was reported near Dyersburg, Tennessee. A man in a van, which is important, we'll talk about that in a minute, stopped, asked for directions, saying he was looking for Jeremy Taylor. The victim is outside. She's got 3 kids playing in the yard. She doesn't want to go inside, but he pulls a gun on her. She struggles. She gets in her trailer. She wrestles with the gun, trying to get him to not enter, and she's trying to close the door. And she yells at her 12-year-old daughter to get the rifle off the wall. The kid grabs the rifle, comes running to give her the gun. He sees it. He shoots just above the doorknob and hits the woman in the arm. He ends up bolting, right? She calls the police. Ballistics connects this incident to the Scherer murders. So what's interesting there too is these ballistics also inevitably would connect to the Zatricki case in South Carolina. The gun used in the Zatricki case in South Carolina, the bullet, connects to the yogurt shop murders. Therefore, connecting all of these together. You feel me? So, April 12th. So now we're March 28th. So now we go what? 2 weeks later. Okay. So we've got double murder, 2 hours later, attempted potential quadruple murder. So he's handling 4 people at a time here. He's handling 2 people here. In the Memphis case, he was handling 4 victims. In the yogurt shop case, he's handling 4 victims. Do you see a trend here? This is a guy who handles multiple victims by himself using 1 or 2 guns. So in Paragould, Missouri, so just 2 weeks later, he's arrested finally during an attempted break-in at the house of a woman living alone who he had once been employed by. He cut the wires leading to the home, just like here and before. He was armed at the time. He was employed by her on a previous occasion, and video camera and locksmith tools were seized from him as well. He was taken into custody and later released after someone posted bail. So immediately gets released. So he finally goes to jail and then he gets released. Great, excellent. Here's something concerning. A video camera and locksmith tools seized. So now he's starting to get into locksmithery. He has already committed a ton of crimes. It shows intent. He plans on doing more. Otherwise, why would you have that? The fact that he had a video camera is especially disturbing. Did he have one before? Because the murdered victims in Portageville, right? They can't speak. We don't know if he had a camera there. The murder victim in 85, she can't speak. Do we know if he had a handheld camera there? Was he filming his murders? Did they ever find this? Has his daughter ever found a big box full of tapes? Like, this is concerning. Did he just buy that video camera? Where did he get this? So he gets released on bail. All right. So around then, I believe, is when him and his wife decide, okay, you got to be on the run. She tells the kids this. She says, we're going to call him all kinds of fun names that are not his name. And if daddy wants to come into the house, all right, we're going to have to hide him. So what they do is they put a giant rug in the car. And when they pull up to the house, the girls pretend to carry the rug. And it kind of makes a wall, like it blocks him. Kind of like they do Taylor Swift at a concert. And he just squats and walks behind the rug to get into the house. That's how much this guy didn't want to be seen. Now, clearly, his wife knows what's going on, but she thinks it's all over a gun charge. She has no idea that he had tried to do these things, the break-in. She has no idea about the attempted murder in Dyersburg. She has no idea about the murder of the Scherers. In fact, she watched news coverage with him and the daughter because the daughter says that he used to love watching the news. And in that news coverage, they discuss how the Scherers got murdered and this awful thing that happened in the Paragould break-in. And she turns to her kids and she turns to him and she goes, oh my God, this is happening just down the road. This is happening in our neighborhood. I'm so scared. And he assured them, don't worry, it's not going to happen to you. So his daughter naturally years later is crying, going, well, how could he know that, right? Concerning. It's because he was the one doing it. So now we're forward to January 13th, 1999 in Kennett, Missouri. So from April of 98 to January of 99, so was that a little over half a year, right? He's free, but what they're doing is he's wearing disguises, he's living out of hotels, and his family will meet him at hotels when he calls, and he'll put a different name at the front of the hotel. So he'll check in under a different name. The family will show up, and the girls get to spend the weekend with their dad. They go, Daddy, and then he hangs out. They're in a hotel room, and then they just don't see him for a while, and they think it's because of his work, right? The mom is okay with this because she's like, listen, they're trying to get him on this bogus gun charge. She doesn't know about all this crazy shit. And she says, I believe you and I will help you sneak around so that you can see your kids. It's not fair to them. So one day, January 13th, 1999, in Kennett, Missouri, is his standoff. He shot himself during a standoff with police in Kennett, Missouri, in a motel room that he held his family hostage in, all his wife and all his kids. He ended up releasing the kids because they talked him down from that. Eventually, they got him to give up a gun, right? But he kept the 380 cal. He had that second gun he slid to them. And then when they tried to bum rush him while he hid under the bed, he shot himself. This is the same gun that one time him and his wife were fighting on the front porch. And it didn't get violent or anything, but he was yelling a lot. And she was saying, you need to go. You need to go. And a family friend is standing there and notices he's getting the crazy face. This family friend says, oh, fuck. And he sees Robert's gun sitting in the vehicle. And he grabs the gun and he takes off running with it because he just knows, like, Robert might use this on her. I got to take his gun. And the daughter said it was the scariest thing she'd ever seen. She said her dad immediately took off. He was so freaked out. He's like, I have to get that gun back. Like, he was furious and hell bent, and he got it back. But she said that the reason she thinks he was upset, and then he made such a big deal out of it, is because that would later on become the gun that tied him to all these crimes. And she said she thought he knew that. Imagine finding that out way later when you're an adult, that your dad did these things, then having to reflect back. So after the standoff, he actually survives. He's in the hospital for 6 days and then he dies. So he survived for 6 days after that. Shot up January 19th, 1999 is when he dies. In 2006, they take his full DNA profile and they enter it into CODIS. Now, CODIS shows a result matching to Genevieve Zatricki from April 6th, 1990. So they're able to take his DNA profile and they put it in there and it matches to Genevieve. Then Brashears is featured on America's Most Wanted in 2006 and then again in 2009. And they actually didn't feature Brashears, they featured his crimes. So scratch that, I'll adjust that. But basically Portageville, Dyersburg, and I believe Zatricki, because they know that these are connected. They're not sure how. All right. So they have the full DNA profile from the crime scenes entered into CODIS finally in 2006. These are from all the crime scenes. Then his crimes are featured on America's Most Wanted, but they still don't know who he is yet. They know that they have all these cases that are connected through CODIS. So this is the crime scene DNA that is his, but they don't know who he is yet. And of course, because he shot himself here, they're not going to put him in CODIS because of that. So the actual DNA from all his crimes are finally all entered. They have the match. They know these scenes are connected. They still don't know who did it. And he's already dead by now. So that's not good, right? But that explains why they weren't able to cross-reference. So then his crimes are featured on America's Most Wanted. They're like, somebody's doing this. And what they called him Mr. Maroon. This is where I'm going to pop in. And I'm going to say this. Why did they call him Mr. Maroon? Because he drove a maroon van. This maroon van was with him at so many of the crimes. So many of the crimes. And the ones where people survived him. Like the woman who ran into a trailer. She remembers. He had a maroon van. He looked like this. Remember, there are sketches that are now made at this point. So he earns the nickname Mr. Maroon. That's what they call him. There's a guy in a maroon van, Mr. Maroon. He'll try to kill you. He will rape you. He could even kidnap. Who knows? But he's a bad guy and he's connected. These cases are all connected to him. He doesn't have a name, so they call him Mr. Maroon. All right. So America's Most Wanted features his cases and even features the name Mr. Maroon twice. So let's go back to this. Here we go. So in 2017, in May, CODIS got a match to the rape of a teen in Memphis, Tennessee from 1997. Why? Because in May of 2017, all of these different areas, the Tennessee, South Carolina, Missouri police, they all decide, let's work together since we have these 3 connecting cases and we don't know who did it. So let's work together and let's cross-reference all of our crime scene evidence and let's take whatever we have and let's put it through CODIS. And they do in May of 2017. Then they say, you know what? You know what we should do? Let's take the DNA that we got that connected all of our cases and let's send it to Parabon and let's let Cece do her thing. So they do that. So in 2018, they send that shit, the one that matched the teen, and they send it to Parabon. Why? Because it also matches the Portageville, Missouri, and the Dyersburg and the South Carolina case. All right. So they send that there and they go, we need to catch this guy. We need to catch Mr. Maroon. Who is this fellow? Why did he do this? All right. And they start to think, hey, hold on a second. The rape of the teen, right? That's Brashears. The gun casing is starting to match other things, not the yogurt shop yet. But they connected 2 of the cases. So they're like, well, if Brashears did this one and then it connects to this, like, how do we figure that out? Well, you do the IgG. It goes to the daughter. It's kind of like they did Rex, right? It comes back to the daughter. They approach the daughter after doing some reverse forensics, if you will. All right. And they go, hey, all these cases are connected by all these different things. The one thing that we need is we have all this connecting DNA, right? And it is someone who is like, you're 25% of them. So it's probably your daddy. All right. We think he did all this, and we need your DNA to prove it. Okay. Because we checked and we think that's what's up. All right. We think it's him because he's the only one who could. Like unless you have a different daddy, and your uncle wouldn't be the same percentage. So it's got to be your dad. And she says, take it. Fucking take it. Yes. Have my DNA. So they say, thank you. And in 2018, they take that sample and they say, if we can fully connect it, if we can be positive, because we need to cross-reference this again. We need to take her DNA and make sure this is accurate. And they do, and it fits. And they go, praise Jesus. But then they say, let's take it a step further. Let's exhume him, because even though we have a connection to his daughter, right? We just need it. It'll be better in court, right? So then they exhume him, and then they run it against South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, knowing that she is the strongest possible match. So he has to be 100% if it's him. And they do that. And it is. And that was September 27th of 2018. Now, fast forward. 2019, right, is when the Oglethorpe murders have all the DNA sent back to reanalyze, right? And they send it back and they get more markers. Remember, they got these. Oh, we got more markers. This is great. And then they go talk to the Joseph James D'Angelo crew in Sacramento. And they say, hey, what'd you guys do? And they go, meet Paul Holes. Let me bring the DA from Sacramento. Come over here. We'll help you out. And what did they do? Who did they use? They used CC Moore. So just like over here, how they use Parabon, they use it again for the Austin ones. And guess what? Perfect match. Damn near as perfect as you're going to get. And that was in August of 2025. So now here we are, September 2025, and there's the announcement of the yogurt shop murder suspect that's made. And that's where we are. And they made mention, and this is what's in the title today, they made mention at that press conference that there was a case before he died, which would have been in 1998. They said specifically, and it was in Lexington, Kentucky. And they said that there was forensic evidence that also matched there, specifically a bullet casing. So we know he had his 380 on him. All right. So we know he had his 380 on him because it was returned to him. We know that he had it because he also killed himself 2 months later with it. And we know that they hadn't captured him to take his gun away before that time because he had it. So it's already back. It's been mailed back from the Border Patrol checkpoint. He's got the gun. So we know that he's in possession of the 380. It's a very specific kind. This bullet matches this case in Lexington, but they wouldn't say which case. What's odd is I thought of a couple of cases right away. What case could it be where the bullet matched? Especially because the way they said it was 1998. It was before his death. His death was literally January of 99. They made it sound like it was in this very small time frame. In Lexington, Kentucky, not that huge. So who was shot with that caliber bullet, right? That fits any of his MOs, paraphilia, whatever's going on there. Fits any of them. Maybe has anything in common where they're double knots at a scene. It's definitely going to be female, right? That's what he focuses on. Someone younger or older, who knows? A couple of cases made me think right away, oh, it's going to be this one. Which is why I made the timeline. Because I wanted to see which one it's going to be. And in chat, somebody said Linda Rutledge. And I remember Linda because she lives on Malibu Drive, but some people spell it wrong with an A. Malibu. It bothered me. I also remember her because it's an odd job. She was at a hearing aid center. It's like an exact replica too of the back of the yogurt shop. It's really creepy when you see it. So I thought of her, but I also thought of a few other cases right away. Some of them I said. One of them was Las Cruces, the bowling alley massacre. That's another one. And that one's really intense. And it's a lot like the yogurt shop murders. Could it be that one? Well, no, because it's not in Lexington, Kentucky, you dingbat, but still interesting. I wonder if he did that anyway. There's another one involving a maroon van. And that one was the one I immediately was like, if it's not Linda, it's this one. And I had to go back and check times and dates and information. And I've got some thoughts on it. And the thoughts are maybe not going to be what everyone wants to hear because it would be nice to close it. But the case happened when he was in prison. I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't charted it. So I started taking other cases that I thought he could be responsible for and checking them against the timeline. And that's what you saw when you saw the red and yellow. So let me share this tab instead. Okay. So we're going to go first through the ones that we can debunk. Las Cruces Bowling Massacre, February 10th, 1990. So do I think that he could be responsible? Let me show you a little bit. Okay. So we're going to stop there because that is the information I wanted you to see. Mahjong to you. Happy Mood Dang Day to you. This is a great day. So as you can see, it was Sunflower. You were the one who also guessed that this would be the case. Oh my God, Hugin. Oh, he's doing a snorty. Hold on. Oh, he's done. He got it out. Sometimes he horgs. He goes, snort, snort, snort. It's usually when he fucks up his little snorter. Usually right after he snorts some water when he's trying to quench his little thirst. You okay? He just got up. He's very mood dangy right now. If I can get him picked up, I will swoop him in for a little visit with you guys. So I wanted to go back and show you, in real time when we last talked about this. Sunflower, you were the one who brought up this could be the case as well. So we were fucking right, bitch. What was weird was probably a month or two before we even discussed the yogurt shop murders, someone came into chat who's from Kentucky and brought up her case and another case out of it was kind of nearby. It was by a ski what's it called, like a ski-doo or whatever shop, jet ski shop, and it's in a tiny town with literally like nothing around. And this woman was found in the backwoods after leaving a hotel at night. And yeah, so she brought up Linda Rutledge independently, like way before this, but not having anything to do with the yogurt shop. She just said that should be a case people cover. No one ever talks about that case. It was weird. It was at a hearing aid store. And I'm like, that's crazy. And I remembered seeing it on Web Sleuths, and I'm like, that's crazy because I thought it was solved. Then I started looking into it, and I was like, this is kind of weird because the fire element, god damn it. So that made me think, kind of like the yogurt shop murders, kind of like Las Cruces. So that's when, fucking finally got that. No, didn't get the fruit fly. So to me, it was like this could have been connected to Las Cruces, but it also could have been connected to yogurt shop. And then there was another arson. And in my head, it's not Flora, but I immediately started thinking about arson and Flora and how that's something we need to get into. Because remember, after this, I posted all the arson stuff in the OSINT cheat sheet. So fast forward to, we're talking about the yogurt shop murders. They do the press conference and they bring up a case out of Kentucky and said, we're looking forward to answering or to linking or announcing a possible link to this other case. And Cece Moore brought it up in her press conference. And when we were talking about that, that's when Sunflower popped in and was like, yo, Linda. And I'm like, yeah, Linda. And then our minds are on Linda. We covered her probably 3 more times. And then I was like, damn, maybe it's not Linda because it was just taking so long. I was expecting it like a week or 2 after. Especially because Cece Moore said there was a match. They said, without a doubt, in the bullet casing, matching yogurt shop murders. And then coming back with DNA that matched, or a casing that matched up in that crime. Like, what? And I don't even know. I believe, was it a bullet? I believe it was a casing or the bullet itself. Just so fascinating. But the fire is what got me. Now, the fact that it's a hearing aid store and that she was slightly older and it was just her and it was at night made me also think of, obviously the yogurt shop, but also for some reason the Lane Bryant killings. And then of course Las Cruces, and then the Kentucky Fried Chicken one. The Kentucky Fried Chicken one here in Texas got solved. They finally announced the last guy. And then Las Cruces is in no way connected, at least not via DNA, and the witnesses. One of them was a little girl at the time who's alive today. The cops don't communicate with her anymore. She made it very clear that, these two guys were dark skinned. One of them was possibly Hispanic, the other was black. So it couldn't have been Robert, and she saw it. She saw people get shot around her and shit lit on fire. But it was a circumstance that was wild. So the only other possibility that I could really leave in that time frame at that time would have probably been Linda. There was maybe one or two more arsons, but I believe they were attempted murders, not murders. So just very, very, very fascinating. With that said, they made an announcement yesterday. And I'm going to show you before we do the, hold on. Why is this doing this? Let me restart this because it is just going so wonky. Something's going on with, I don't know if it's my mouse. Okay. I do not want to hear my voice. I don't know if it's StreamYard or my mouse or what. Okay, it's still doing it. I don't know what's going on. All right. Okay, we're just going to go here. I'm going to show you a few months ago, they put out a whole thing about Linda's case where they're like, we're looking for tips from the public. And this was around the time of the yogurt shop murder announcement. So that was another kind of context clue. Because usually when they're looking for, because they just did a media blitz saying we're looking for tips in the yogurt shop case too, right before they announced it. And there was a documentary. So it was interesting that it made the rounds and it wasn't necessarily on the anniversary. It was, but they also made the rounds shortly around the time of the yogurt shop murder with pleas for tips. So I thought that was very interesting. And of course they're going to do that. They're going to try to see if there's anything else they can connect to him possibly, or if anybody did happen to have a description of him before they announce who the suspect is. Because he's already dead. He's obviously not going to go to court for it. But anyway, I'm going to show you. It was from 3 months ago. The last plea that the police put out in the press for help. And then I'm going to play you the announcement and the press conference from less than 24 hours ago. Very exciting. This is very great news. I'm so glad they were able to do this, especially for her fucking family. That's so sad. Also, a lot of people thought for some reason in a couple of different forums, like that this woman, Linda, looked a lot like, the girls from the Springfield 3. I would argue, yeah, she's blonde and she has similar hair. But a lot of people were trying to like kind of make that leap, like maybe the same person. No. This makes a lot more sense, especially with the arson element. So I'm going to shut up now and just let you hear this. So this is from 3 months ago when they made their final plea for tips. And then we're going to have the press conference right after it. Here you go.
Been more than 25 years since Lexington police started investigating the murder of Linda Rutledge.
Today, Bluegrass Crime Stoppers highlighted her death. They hope that renewed interest in the cold case will generate some new leads and bring her family closure and justice.
WKYT's Alyssa Williams talked with a detective and someone who knew Rutledge. It's our top story at 6.
A cold case nearly 27 years old being brought to light once again.
Personally, I just don't want, her.
Also, when they show behind the building, the episode that gave me, the part that gave me the creeps is on this one episode when I put the pictures next to each other. I hadn't really done that yet. I just thought they looked similar, but to see them up on the screen right next to each other, they look the exact same. Like behind the yogurt shop, it was like the triangular shape of the buildings, the exact same looking back door. Like it was really creepy. It really was. Okay, back to
family to think that we forgot, to think that, okay, it's been 27 years, we're not going to do anything with this, because she doesn't deserve that, and they don't deserve that either. And that goes for any case that we still have open.
Police say it was November of 1998 when fire crews were called to 121 Malibu Drive for a fire at Nixon Hearing Aid Center. When they got there, they found the body of Linda Rutledge, but it wasn't the fire that killed her. Police say it was multiple gunshot wounds and that someone started the fire to cover up her murder. Now, Bluegrass Crime Stoppers are trying to remind the public of this case and hope someone with information will come forward.
With the passing of time, people become more comfortable coming forward with what they do know. You know, maybe some of the fear of knowing who's involved in retaliation. Hopefully some of that has subsided.
And although this case kicked off more than 2 decades ago, there are still business owners along this stretch on Malibu Drive that remember when that murder happened.
We were all on watch and all kind of on edge for, several weeks.
Gene Young at Shelter Insurance says Rutledge worked at the hearing aid center that her family owned. He says Rutledge's friend was also his client.
She had her auto insurance and renter's insurance with me, and she was very, very afraid of the people that she felt did that.
Young says he's happy to see this case be brought up again.
I'd like to find some closure for that case and some justice for her family and her.
In Lexington, Alyssa Williams, WKYT.
Klingshirn says the lack of surveillance technology in the 90s and the limited information they have has made this case difficult to close. If you have anything to share with detectives on this case, you can reach out to Lexington Police or Bluegrass Crime Stoppers.
I'm Sergeant Bige Towery with the Lexington Police Department, and we have a major update and an unsolved homicide investigation that we'd like to share with you. For the last 27 years, detectives have continued to follow up on leads, tips, and evidence in connection with the homicide death of 43-year-old Linda Rutledge. And we can now say that the suspect has been identified and the case has been solved, finally bringing justice to Linda and her family. The suspect was identified as Robert Eugene Brashers, who's been deceased since January of 1999. But through DNA and ballistic evidence testing, he was determined to be responsible for Linda's death. If he were alive today, he'd be arrested and charged with murder along with other charges. Solving cases like this take all of us working together. And this one would not have been possible for us to solve without the assistance and help from Austin, Texas Police Department, the Texas Office of Attorney General, the City of Austin Forensic Science Department, the Kentucky State Police Forensic Laboratory, DNA Labs International, the ATF, the FBI, and the Lexington Fire Department. We want to thank them for their assistance and teamwork in helping bring justice to Linda and her family. We also want to thank our detectives, Forensic Service Unit, and investigators who remain dedicated and continue to work on this case for the past 27 years, looking over notes, re-entering evidence, following up on leads and tips, and researching how new technology can help further the investigation. Because you never gave up, we now know who killed Linda Rutledge. But most importantly, we want to honor Linda. Her life was cut short after just 43 years, and her family has had to live with the pain of losing her and not knowing who took her life. While her case may be solved, it doesn't bring Linda back. But we hope that by knowing who killed her, her loved ones can begin to heal. We've spoken with Linda's family, and they've asked that the media and the public respect their privacy during this time. Now join our Crime Stoppers coordinator, Detective Kristen Klingshirn, as she sits down with the case detective, Detective John Davis, and Bureau of Investigation clerk and retired police commander Ann Whitty, to learn more about this case and how it was solved.
I'm Detective Kristen Klingshirn. I am the Lexington Police Department's Bluegrass Crime Stoppers coordinator, and today I am here with retired Commander Ann Whitty and Detective John Davis to talk about the murder of Linda Rutledge and how the department has solved this 27-year-old case. Can you give us a brief overview of the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, hopefully this is the first of many of these that we're going to be able to do. Linda's case to Ann and I means a great deal to be able to get to this point where we can have hers our first big breakthrough case that we've solved. So November 7th, 1998 basically started out like any other morning here in Lexington. On 121 Malibu Drive at the Nixon Hearing Aid Center, somebody was passing by. They happened to notice that there was smoke coming from the back side of that building. They called 911, and the Lexington Fire Department thankfully showed up very, very quickly for that. And we'll go into detail on that just a little bit later, but they were able to arrive very quickly. They were able to put out that fire, and then during the course of extinguishing that fire, they located a deceased female inside of the building. At the time, they didn't know who she was, but based on later investigation, they were able to determine that 43-year-old Linda Rutledge was the victim located inside there. Linda's body was taken for autopsy. They found that she had sustained 2 gunshot wounds to the head and had also had some internal injuries consistent with some blunt force trauma. So her death was ruled a homicide, and the investigation started moving in that direction.
What evidence was collected back in 1998 that was relevant to your follow-up investigation?
Sure. So there was actually a lot of evidence taken at that time. There were door frames, door handles, fire debris. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was taken, but the most important items that they were able to recover, one of those was a single .380 spent shell casing. There was also 2 projectiles that they recovered, and then there was a sexual assault kit that they performed on Linda during the time of her autopsy. Ultimately, those shell casing, or that shell casing, and the sexual assault kit were the 2 most important kind of parts of this investigation, and got us to the point where we are now.
When the fire department arrived and found Linda, they took great pains to preserve that scene as best as they could, knowing that we would be involved investigating the case. They collected things, our forensic services unit collected items that back then maybe didn't, they weren't really able to do anything with. Technology science was where it was in 1998. And so it took 27 years, but because of their efforts to preserve that evidence, we were able to do something with that evidence this long after the case. So it was pretty amazing. Their efforts were just sensational.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you worked with other agencies with that evidence to identify the person responsible for Miss Rutledge's death?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of odd, the timing of this. So back in probably the end of May, beginning of June, I started looking into Linda's case, just basically going through and reviewing the case file to see what new steps we could take, especially with the advancements in DNA technology and that kind of stuff. So I started looking at that case, and then on the 4th of July, we got an email from Detective Daniel Jackson with the Austin Police Department in Austin, Texas, saying that there was a potential shell casing match to incident they had that's famously known as the yogurt shop murders. So he was able to do what we call a NIBIN lead for that, where it basically says that those shell casings are the same, but we still need some further testing to confirm those. So about 2 weeks later, Detective Jackson and his team from Austin Police and also the Texas State Attorney General's office came up here. We basically collaborated on our cases, and that was kind of the start of how we got to where we are now. We sat down in a room for an entire day. We reviewed those case files, tried to find similarities outside of those shell casings in those files. And I would say at that time, unfortunately, that was really the only thing that we could come up with. So we kind of had to run with 2 different theories, that 1, this actually could be related to the Austin case, or 2, that it could be complete coincidence that somehow the gun that was used in the yogurt shop murders was also used in ours. Thankfully, we were able to get up to KSP Lab the next day, and they were able to kind of give us a preemptive confirmation that those shell casings were a match. So we knew that we were headed in the right direction. We later found out through the Austin Forensic Sciences Department that those shell casings 100% matched each other. But on top of that, they were also able to identify the projectiles as being fired from the same gun as well. So we knew that.
And you know what's crazy to think about? I'm about to give you so many degrees to Kevin Bacon to other cases that you're going to shit out your ass, okay? First, none of this would have happened if a wonderful, I think she's Polish Czech. I'm going to kill this fruit fly. If a wonderful Polish Czech lady, I think, named Cece Moore, okay, hadn't got a little bit nosy on GEDmatch and said, hey, fucking fruit fly, and said, hey, how you doing? And then shout out to BDO, how you doing? And said, hey, let me help you guys with this case, with this missing woman who ended up murdered by a DJ. And while I'm at it, let me help you out with this trucker case that also happened to deal with a pizza crust. And let me fucking help you out with April Tinsley. Okay? But what got her there? What made them say, hey, we should call Cece Moore? Well, interestingly, a little case called Tara Colicchio. Remember her? Remember the photographs that were found in a van in Florida? And everybody said, hey, maybe Tara Calico, maybe that's her duct taped with a little boy in her favorite book in a van. That's kind of spooky. You know, that's really spooky. We need to figure that out. And we need to identify a couple of things that have to do with a couple of cases to see if this could very well be the girl. So what did they do? They had to trace back a couple of roots, okay? A couple of roots of a couple of bones to see if what was found was Tara Calico. So who'd they call? They called Cece Moore, okay? And who'd they call for all those other cases? Cece Moore. So as she built her way up the ranks, she got known pretty well for genetic genealogy. And these are all very popular cases. Okay? But one of the most popular cases that she solved was with the help of a couple of people who reached out to her and others that were highly involved, if not pioneers, in the genetic genealogy community. And she built her name off of solving cases like April Tinsley, okay? Serial killers up in the Northwest, okay? All these different cases. And they said, you know what we should do? We should use her on this little case called the Golden State Serial Killer, and Paul Holes and the DA in, what's that fucking county? It doesn't matter, Sacramento. They said, okay. So they did that. And they used her. And they were able to get answers. Now, what's crazy is, because of that, and the Golden State Killer case taking off and being so big, the new cold case guy in Austin said, hey, I keep hearing about this Cece Moore lady, and I keep hearing about how they solved this Golden State Killer, and I went to a conference and I spoke to someone, and they said, you know, hey, we should do that, but I don't know anything about it. So what he did was he reached out to the Sacramento DA and he said, can you guys help us? What did you do? How did you do this? And the Sacramento DA said, please hold. I'm going to pack up all my shit. I'm going to grab Paul Holes. We're going to come down there. Okay, you got a war room ready? Get it ready. So they came down and they personally helped guide the Austin detectives in the cold case squad on what to do. And Cece said, let me grab this for you, boo. And she connected everything with Robert Brashears. And they were able to get this bullet casing. And it's really interesting to think, because why was the Golden State Killer case reinvigorated? Why was it brought up again? Why? Because Michelle McNamara happened to put it together and to go get those records and to write a book and to write several, and it was unfinished at the time. Patton Oswalt, her husband at the time of all people, had to finish it for her because she died right before they announced him. But what's crazy is they gave her all the records so that she could write articles. I believe it was for the Los Angeles Times. And they got so popular, and it became a podcast, a series on HBO, a book. Like, everyone was talking about it. And if you think about it, in an imperfect world, had Michelle McNamara not been interested in a case, in Chicago, dealing with a girl in the 80s that led her to become obsessed with the Golden State Killer and led her to go get those case files, and then led these detectives to go, hey, how'd she get all that? Maybe we need to look back at this, because it turns out she's saying these are all connected, and she put all of the different investigators in touch, which led them to putting all the cases together. And then Paul Holes came in and said, here, let me help you out. Had she not done that, had she not become interested in the 80s in this one weird case in her neighborhood, and had Cece Moore not gone out on a limb and offered to help with those cases, like April Tinsley, with Tara Calico, with the serial killer up in the Pacific Northwest, had she not done that, and the DJ in Pennsylvania, and had she not solved those, her credentials might not have been considered. And had they all not come together to find Joseph James D'Angelo, then they wouldn't have had the reputation that they needed for the Austin cold case detective to go, hey, I've heard of that. I saw that documentary. I read that book. I heard that this is a badass. We need to get them. Had they not been blown up as in the media as pioneers of this new potential resource and technology, had JetMatch excluded the loophole and patched it up like 23andMe did, in an imperfect world, had all three of those things not come together, then we might not have answers to the yogurt shop murders. And what's crazier to think is ballistic technology that was questioned in seminars during the Delphi trial that Coffindoffer spoke about, thus discrediting actual valuable real forensics. Because anytime she says this is a good idea, people go, fuck, that's stupid. Unfortunately, it was a good idea. There were a lot of things that had to do with striations and spent shell casings and bullets when they've had a lot of water on them. Remember, there was a fire, bullets that, had been stuck and bent, bullets that were lodged, like all these different things, not just the specifics with Delphi, chambered and non-chambered rounds, but all these specifics have come into question recently. And the exact same ballistics conference that was trying to call that out, that led to that whole fucking rabbit hole that a lot of people latched onto, was a conference full of people that were trying to get evidence thrown out. It's kind of like how lobbyists will lobby a senator. In this case, they're lobbying scientists to put out information that's false so that they can discredit specific facts and cases and get appeals. And unfortunately, people didn't know that. So people are just like, why is this all coming into question by scientists? Well, you saw it on Vinny or Nancy Grace. Let's chill for a minute. But what's interesting is those same scientists who were called stupid in the same forensics that were called not credible are the same forensics that helped solve these cases, that helped put all of these together. And it's very interesting. Cece does a lot of conferences where she talks about this. So, as much as I love saying Jen Coffindoffer is a silly ding-dong donkey head, I mean, the one thing she seems to be good at is guns. So I'm going to give it to her, especially when you find out that a lot of the papers that were written involving matching bullet casings to weapons and the little chips and degradation that can happen to the metal in the interior of the barrel and the exterior of the bullets, and how little lines can be matched. And the older a weapon is, remember Richards was 16 years old? The older a weapon is, the more likely you're going to have these little imperfections that you can match to it. regardless of whether it's shot or not, a lot of the documentation on this specific science happened to be written by people who were not only able to match these, forensically speaking, but when you consider the additional evidence that puts Robert there, including DNA matches to the victims, I don't think the science is bad. And I think it's pretty impressive. It's really crazy to think that if specific things didn't happen in true crime in the media, if specific cases didn't take off and cause the kind of attention and the kind of environment we have in true crime, especially with the Joseph James D'Angelo case, if that hadn't happened, they might not have answers. If certain people had been discredited when people tried to, we might not have answers. It's crazy to think about. Anyway, boogity, 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 back to this.
We were on the complete right track at that point. And then that's where DNA Labs International in Deerfield Beach, Florida came into play. We were actually able to send the sexual assault kit that was performed on Linda during the time of her autopsy. We were able to send that down to Florida, and they were able to put rush testing on that. And within a week, we were able to get a profile that matched the DNA profile from the yogurt shop murders case.
So who was the suspect identified as?
So
not only is there a shell casing that matches the Zatricki case, but you also have DNA matching the girls at the yogurt shop case. Excellent, excellent work. I bet you it took them longer to announce this because they were probably getting, the FBI was probably getting them backup DNA, exclusionary DNA.
Eugene Brashers was ultimately identified as that suspect. He was well known to law enforcement at that time. He had 3 confirmed homicide victims at that point, 1 in South Carolina and 2 in Missouri. I believe it was earlier in 2018, 2019 when those cases were, when it was found out that he was responsible for those. And thankfully, the work that they did with those cases got us to a point where we could tie our case and the yogurt shop murders case to that. So at this point, we know that he has 8 confirmed victims, including Linda Rutledge and the yogurt shop murder victims. And we're pretty confident that there's probably more out there. And we would just encourage other departments to go back and look at those cases, especially from probably that 1995 to that 1998 standpoint, January of 1998 standpoint, and revisit those cases to see if kind of the MOs of those cases match up to what we have in ours.
Can you tell us why Robert Brashers was in Lexington at the time this occurred?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of the most perplexing thing about this case. Everything that we've been able to find through kind of his previous records, and thankfully all of the research that these other departments have done on him, as well as speaking with family members of his, he really had no ties to Lexington in general. What we learned was that Robert owned his own construction company and that he would travel a lot for that construction company, mostly around the southern portion of the United States. We know all the way from at least Texas to South Carolina and everywhere in between. So I think at this point we can kind of speculate that maybe he was passing through here on work. But like I said before, there's nothing that definitively tied.
You know, this is probably fucking crazy, and I have no business putting that out there other than pure speculation, but I did see someone say that they thought he traveled to Colorado, and now all I can think about is 1994 Colorado. I wonder if he was in jail during Jean Bonnet because there was construction going on nearby. But I don't know. Just kind of weird.
Him to having previous relations to Lexington, but we are in a very centralized location with I-75 and I-64, and it's very easy to get here and it's very easy to leave here. So like I said, our belief is that he was probably traveling through, and unfortunately Linda was the person who he found here in Lexington.
So what does solving Linda's death mean to you, and most importantly for her family?
So I think I kind of led off with this, but Linda's case meant a whole lot to Ann and I to be able to solve, mostly because her family had to go 27 years without being able to know exactly what happened to her or who was responsible for doing it. And unfortunately, it took 27 years for the technology to advance enough that we could get to that point. But the best part about it was that we were actually able to. And it just goes to show that, especially with some of these other cases that we have too, that technology can be used for those. And I think this is just a stepping stone and just the beginning for us to be able to solve, especially the older cases like Linda's. But for me personally, to identify somebody such as Robert Eugene Brashers as being responsible for a death, I'm not sure as a detective that you can really have more of a height of pinnacle at that point. Like, everybody wants to identify a serial killer, and I was lucky enough to be able to do it as my first case. And it wasn't anything short of everybody being involved to make that happen. And I know in Lexington during that time, he's at least the third serial killer that we've identified just within probably a 5-year stretch, I would say.
I think that for me, most people that get into law enforcement do that to help their community, to help people, to resolve cases. You know, we fight crime, suppress evil. That's the goal. And when you can't resolve something, it becomes very frustrating. And when you can't resolve something for 27 years, you know, you keep reading the file, you keep looking at every detail, hoping that something will come to light. We use Crime Stoppers and put, you know, case information out in hopes of gathering more information, just gaining one more opportunity to solve that case. And so that call from Austin, where our shell casings matched, you know, that was some information that we could do something with and could run on. It opened up a whole new avenue of investigation for this case. And neither one of us ever dreamed that it would be resolved the way that it was. You know, that just wasn't on the radar. We really were looking. Linda was well loved by many people in this community. The initial investigators, they talked to so many people. And we really thought that someone in that circle that knew her did this to her. We didn't think it would end up the way that it did. And Linda's mother told us that she hoped that it was no one that knew her, because how could someone that knew her and loved her do that to her? So, you know, it was a shock for her as well, but there's some resolution there for her. And she was really happy knowing that she wasn't going to leave this world without knowing what happened to her daughter. So yeah, there's a lot of satisfaction that comes in being able to sit down with her and tell her what happened.
So what would either of you say to someone that's still waiting for justice for their loved ones?
Yeah, so I think I'll piggyback off what Ann said with that. With Linda's case, unfortunately, it took us 27 years to get to this point. And some of our cases, I think, could have the same outcome on them, that it's just going to take a little bit of time and effort and some new technology to come into play for us to be able to solve those. But the one thing that I can 100% guarantee to you is that when that stuff becomes available, we will revisit each and every single case that we have, and none are more important than the others. We treat all of the families of those victims equally, right? And we want to bring justice for every single one of those victims' families. Some cases are a lot harder to solve than others, and I think Ann would agree with me on that. And that's the unfortunate reality of that part. But we walk into the office every single day, and the only thing that we do is we investigate the unsolved cases. And we have a big shelf in our office that has all of those case files on it, and has her own room where she's working with all of those old case files. And it's not a second that we don't go throughout our day that we don't see all of those different case files, all the way from probably the early 70s all the way up until the most recent cases. So they're all on the table. We're always waiting for new information to come out with those. And that's why Crime Stoppers is such a huge part of this.
Tiffany, I have your key statistics for the question you asked. Now, if you ever want to get the answers for these, you can go to the Office of Justice Programs, ojp.gov. There's violent crime by strangers and non-strangers that is cited, in addition to the FBI expanded homicide uniform crime report. Now, these are just reported, so keep in mind it doesn't account for unreported or perhaps potential like missing people that are not considered a crime. But here's your facts based on the UCR, okay? So basically half of all homicides. So nearly half of all homicides, okay, the relationship is unknown. So you've got half of the homicides, the relationship is unknown. So take 50% out. Then you have 10% are typically committed by strangers. Okay. So what does that leave? So that leaves 30 to 40% because it's 10 to 20. Yes, Stevie's got it. So 10 to 20. So you're more than likely going to be killed by somebody that you know. You're 3 times more likely is what we learned in class. And I do believe that that adds up because 10% to 20% versus 30 to 40 is about that. Yeah, you have to ignore the 50% unknown. And then that last 50%, you have 10% that are strangers. And then but you have to go 10 to 20 because you always want to go up. And again, the UCR does not account for unreported, underreported, and it's also departments that take part in that, and the departments have to report it. So they don't consider it if the victim, like self-reporting by the victim, is not counted. So, you know, in this case, it's just homicide. Now, if you're considering violent crime, it echoes about the same percentage, which is interesting. But yeah, that's a huge percentage. Like the relationship is unknown. It's 50%. And you have to consider that, what is it? The worst department, it's something like 40% or 50% of homicides are solved. And then the best department, it's like 90 something to 100. So the numbers are wildly outdated too, because it feels like every time they update the UCR, the numbers shift dramatically. It also depends on public outrage, economic stat. Like if the economy is bad, there's typically more murders, more suicides, things like that. So it's pretty wild. It's really hard to lock down the number until they make that reporting mandatory and annually. And in a way, it's kind of like a crime census, isn't it? So there you go.
There's several cases that I can tell you right now that Crime Stoppers has reopened some new leads in them, and some of these cases are over 20 years old at that point, and stuff that we had never known about before. So I wish there was a way that we could get across that Crime Stoppers is in fact completely anonymous, because I know there's some reluctancy out there to be able to give those tips and keep your name anonymous. But I 100% guarantee you that it is. Nobody ever knows your name. They never know your phone number. They never know your email address. They never know who you are when you get paid out that money by Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers doesn't even know themselves. It's a completely anonymous thing, and it's the easiest way for people to get information to us so that we can start running with that information.
We're hopeful every day. We come to work, even after 27 years, you know, you look at that file and you're hopeful every time you open it. And I would want families to to remember that we are still looking, we are still working. Our goal is to resolve that case, and it's not acceptable if it's not resolved as far as we're concerned. So we just keep working, and we keep hoping that every day we'll be able to call another family and tell them that there's some resolution to their loved one's case.
So I want to thank you both. Thank you for your hard work on this case. It just goes to show that good police work as well as advancements in technology are the most important things moving forward with some of these cases. I also would like to point out that information from the community is very important for these cases as well. So if anybody has any information, they are able to submit that through the Unsolved Homicide webpage, or if they're more comfortable, they can always anonymously submit any information to Crime Stoppers.
Okay, so that is what's going on. That is what's going on. They got him. He's dead. He's dead as shit, but they identified him. They identified Robert Brashears as being the murderer of Linda Rutledge. Sunflower, we did it. You guys, we did it. You are 10 times more likely to be murdered by a Moodang than a stranger. That's a fact. That is a fact I made up. Okay? You are 15 times more likely to be attacked by Steven with his earmuffs off than you are to be attacked by sweet, sweet baby Moodang. Now I have some more things to show you. It's time for sillies, okay? Because now it's time to celebrate. They solved Linda's case. This is fantastic. May more perps get got in the future. That is shit. That'll be merch. Thank you, God, for making that person dead as fuck. Thank you for deading them. Thank you for making sure they're dead as a doornail. Robert is dead. And he cannot hurt more people. So that's fantastic. Shout outs to the police. They couldn't pin him up. Which one? God damn. How many morticians from Pasadena? Is shit really dead? It is. It's excrement. It has died and come out of your body in the form of poo. 15 times 0 is still 0. Stephen, be careful with math. It'll get you thinking. Well, hippos are very dangerous. More dangerous than sharks. Don't look up that, Stephen. Don't look up that statistic about sharks and hippos. Okay? I'm always watching, Stephen. Yes, you are too. She's watching and she's waiting outside of a hole to push you in it. So be very careful. You love your cry about it shirt? I'm so glad. I'm so glad I'm going to cry about it. Vetted and deaded. Ooh, like that. Indebted. Also, bacteria, though. That's a good shirt. Bacteria, though. Math is for losers. Also a great shirt. Everybody's getting stars for that. Of course, not the sweet baby angel. Mood, dang goddamn right. I got my Feral and Grand Canyon takes. Oh, I'm so excited to hear this. You guys are really taking advantage of that store. Okay. And I appreciate it. And if you don't, go to the store. Okay. And purchase your authentic Oblivious Benson t-shirts. None of which have my name. I think maybe one has the channel name. There is a new shirt that I put up there, and it is all rust coal, but it says Nirvana. It's very good. You can get them here. Okay. And if you don't get your merch, I will show up at your house. I'll call the police. Okay. I'll call the police. I will have my assistant next to me. Okay. She'll be dressed like a cartoon character. I will have her stand threateningly while I film you and call my husband on speakerphone, my common law husband. And I will freak out. So you need to go buy your merch. I'm going to be doing this at you. Okay? And you might say, well, bitch, what if I don't want to buy merch? And then I will say to you this. Okay? And you won't even see me. I'll sneak up behind you. Okay? And if you try some shit, you try to come at me. All right? I'm going to tell you no. No, because I'm busy. I'm gobbling on this hot dog. I don't have time for your shit. I got dogs to get. And then I will ask you politely, bitch, could you don't? Okay, bitch, could you don't? Because I don't need it today. I'm on that mood dang shit. So I need you to move fuck off. Also, a lot of things have been going on in the true crime community. For those of you who missed it, I did do an exclusive interview with Julie Albert. If you missed it, this is how it went. Here's a snippet.
My father gets a job at the Palm Restaurant. My Uncle Junior works there, who was a Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not. He went from Catholic to Jehovah. So basically, my grandmother wanted us all to switch from Catholic to Jehovah. Meanwhile, we're from Harlem. My father's doing coke. My mother thinks she's Aunt Margaret. She's teasing the hair with a bottle of vodka. So dysfunctional, cross-addicted family, still cooking pasta on Sundays. And the meatballs, they wind up being burnt.
Okay. And then, if you want to come at me, you want to talk some shit, you want to be a little crazy, I'm going to remind you that Shaq loved it. Okay. Now, last night, for those of you who weren't here, my internet did cut out and it was not fucking coming back on, and I used up all my hotspot. And I'm broke, so I said, you know what? I'm not going to buy a new hotspot. We're just ending it. So I just Irish Polish goodbye. And I'm sorry. But what sucks the most is that when it came back on today, I realized, fuck, I deprived the children. I deprived the cult. I deprived you of good intel. I deprived you of top-notch security clearance information. I deprived you of a custody hearing for this little baby. This little nugget of info. Okay. This little hot tamale that I think could have served you well in life. It was information about you. Because you're a big fucking bird. It was very rude and I apologize. Listen, I know I haven't talked to you a lot about why your mom left, why she took off. But as a dad of 24 at the moment, at times when I'm peaking, a dad of like 200 easily. Sometimes I got to go to the Moose Lodge, got to unwind, got to get that $1 Bud Light Lime. Now, I don't drink, but I pretend to drink around my friends. We wear our Vietnam hats, okay? And we freak out together. And sometimes when I'm doing that and we're talking about robot birds and drones and how the CIA is after us, because, yeah, maybe we drank liquid uranium we got at a thrift store in 1982. Sometimes I get caught up in the drink. My favorite shot is called Moo Dang Sweat. And sometimes I forget about you guys. I forget about your ball games. Forget about your doctor's appointments. I forget about your surgeries. I forget about Christmas. Sometimes I blow all the family money at the casino. And sometimes I say brutal things to your mother because she said horrible things about Moo Dang. And I fight with her and I say, get lost, lady. And she leaves. And then what does she do? She goes to the Moose Lodge. And before you know it, she's on a trucker's singing Christian tour. And I don't know where the heck she is, but I got to feed you fuckers. So the point is, I'm trying to make up for it now that dad's sober again. And if you say I went to the Moose Lodge and got drunk last night, I will put your head through the drywall. Do you understand? I said I'm a dad. I didn't say I'm a good dad. Maybe a stepdad. I don't know. I've never had my Siemens tested. Okay. They said I don't have any. I said I was in Vietnam. Did you stretch me at the Hanoi Hilton? Because you look familiar. You're a hater. And they spit in their mouth and I leave. I go back to the Moose Lodge. If she remembered, she'd be mom. So the point is, sometimes I fuck up. Okay? Last night I fucked up and I left and I apologize. And if you talk back to me, I will take it back. I'll never say it again and I'll never cry in front of you. Hello, Susie Q. You're just like your dad. You neglected us and it's okay. Lang may your lum reek. Hey, I hope your bum leaks too. I love you to death. I don't want chimney. I don't need the house on fire, but I thank you for the thought. Todd's Big Gay Vietnam, that's going to be the shirt. The point is, this guy has bird intel. I deprived you of it. Fuck me, right? Here you go.
Learned something messed up about birds, and now you have to know it too. Birds don't breathe in and out the same way we do. Yeah, that's right. They breathe in one long breath, filling their lungs, which then fills, don't listen to me, fills their hollow bones, with air and a system of air sacs inside their body inflate like an organic balloon. And then you think, well, then, of course, they then breathe out, right? No, they fart out the old air out the back like little blimps. This whole time, this has been true.
Now I know what you're thinking. The Young Jerks is super cool, and I agree. I love Uncle Mike. But I had no idea how much shit he knew about birds. I will be bringing this to him and questioning his bird knowledge and where he gets it from. How could he hide this from us?
And penguins use it to control their buoyancy. And dinosaurs use these gigantic air sacs to offset their massive weight.
He's not talking about, okay, he is calling us fat. But think about it. Breathing in and farting out the air and using that fart to propel you through the sky is pretty much the most fucking badass shit you could do. Kevin, you're wrong.
And birds are just flying around like little living balloons. Did you guys know this and you didn't tell me? Is that what this is?
Now, we are going to watch this again. This is the Wizard of Oddity on TikTok, aka Papa Uncle Mike. Birds fart to fly. Birds fart to fly. I have the hiccups, so I will be farting out of my ass and shooting through the sky any moment now. They're flying fart balloons. We are all flying fart balloons. We're all buoyant with fart, penguins. This is fantastic news. Benedict Benedict comes in snack. Okay, I get it. I can see it. Can we tell airline stewards, because this is a good, exactly. Listen, when in doubt, I will fart and fly through the air majestically. A mad, drunk artist from New Mexico. I barely believe it, but keep going. Dysfunctional. Okay, there we are. Back to reality. Of course, massively talented. Sounds like it. But he just by tracking birds in the desert. He's a genius, and that's going on a shirt. The whole thing, everything you said. I thought birds were really surveillance bots, and they fart. That's what I'm telling you. They are literal intel that farts, and we missed out on fart intel about them. That's why the ocean smells like farts. Exactly. Time is a flat circle. Time is a fat circle. And it's farting. If you can fart, you can fly. That's what we learned today. If you could fart, you can fly. And that's a shirt.
I just learned something messed up about birds, and now you have to know it too. Birds don't breathe in and out the same way we do. Yeah, that's right. They breathe in one long breath, filling their lungs, which then fills, don't listen to me, fills their hollow bones with air and a system of air sacs inside their body inflate like an organic balloon. And then you think, well, then, of course, they then breathe out, right? No.
You little hollow-boned floating air sacs. Go to your room.
They fart out the old air out the back like little blimps. This whole time. This whole time. This whole time.
Listen, if you grew up on a farm, you know that ducks rape. We had 2 ducks that raped the shit out of each other. Out of each other. They don't give a fuck. They're crazy. Growing up, 2 ducks used to chase each other around the yard, just raping the shit out of each other. Nothing you could do. They're ducks. My sacks are also inflated. I have a cloaca. Can confirm. Good for you. Proud of you. No, and we're not going to fact check him, Ernie, because I believe him. Look at him. He has a beard. He's in the woods. What more do you need to know? He has glasses.
This has been true. And
he just told you it was true. Like, what more do you need to know? Don't you dare fact check. If you fact check him, grounded.
penguins use it to control their buoyancy. And
Tiff, I say it all the time.
use these gigantic air sacs to offset.
What are you talking about? That's why we're listening to him, is because he's a goddamn hippie. I don't know if Clam knew this. Don't ask her. About the ducks? Yeah, she knows ducks rape.
Their massive weight. And birds are just flying around like little living balloons. Did you guys know this and you didn't tell me? Is that what this...
Why do you think Huey, Dewey, and Louie lived with their fucking weird rich uncle? Why do you think every duck cartoon, the ducks never have a mom? It's always boy ducks. Because they just do that and get rid of you. Ugh. All ducks are on the sex offender list, true. I know you looked. You always look. I know, right? It's gross. They just do it all day. They don't give a fuck. Laura, the topic is that birds fart to fly and duck rape. And also, they did solve, they announced a cold case in Lexington, Kentucky that we've been talking about, Linda Rutledge, as Robert Brashears being the man who did it. So that's true. That happened. Okay. So anyway, I needed to show you that because I did pull out Goodbye You last night. All right. And so you didn't get to see that information. I felt it was important. Now we're going to ease our way out, looking at some cool videos I pulled for you. And I will be saying goodbye to you soon. Why? Because I was going to go magnet fishing this morning and film it. Oh, Jesus. And film it for you. But it started getting real rainy outside. And here we have thunder and lightning storms. And if there's ever a sign of that or an inkling of it, you shouldn't go magnet fishing, because it turns out, Juggalo said, hey, what the hell are they? How do they work? Turns out pretty bad at lightning conducting. Like, everything that you need with it is metal. And I looked it up and it said, don't do that when it's shit weather in Central Texas, because you'll probably get electrocuted. So I said, okay, we'll wait and see what happens. I think we're good. It's starting to clear up, so I'm probably going to go. Do that. Miracles are everywhere. So I'm going to go magnet fishing, okay, and take mookies. If I can't get a hold of something, I'm going to throw them in the water. I'm going to say, get it for daddy. Bring it back, Hugin. I'm probably going to attach a big piece of metal to him so I could drag his ass out with a magnet. I don't know. It's going to be fun. So Dad's going to go try to find evidence in a body of water. I love you guys. And that's why I'm showing you important things. Okay? What kind of important things? This again. We're definitely going to watch some Lil Bubby Wade Child, because I feel good things on the horizon. Okay? And I feel like you need to be blessed with this sort of content. So, Lil Bubby Wade, I got a few videos to play you. Okay, now I'm gonna skedaddle. All right, check this out.
I had been rejected off of Shark Tank for the third time. for an ideal for a chain of adult novelty barns for Christian married couples. It was called Solomon's Boudoir, and it was ahead of its time. But when that happened, it was just like the bottom fell out of my life. And I remember I was down where I would go down to Taco Bell, roll out of bed about 11:30. I'd go down to Taco Bell, and I'd gather up them sauces down there. And I'd take it back to my house. I had me a pair of shears, and I would cut the tops off them sauces. I would drink them sauces, and that was my work for the entire day. And I remember there was a night where I had drank me some sauce. I'd lay down. As I laid down, I seen a vision of the most beautiful man ever was. His eyes was like pure honey sparkles, and he looked straight at me, and I'll never forget this. He looked at me and said, and I looked right back at him, and I said, and at that point, everything changed.
There are many figures in our society who contribute an enormous amount to our culture, and people who have unconventional.
You know I had to include this today. Okay. Why? Because you're about to get some Epstein drops today. I'm about to drop some more shit for you. Okay? I'm about to drop some more shit for you this afternoon. So naturally, you got to get a little Jim Varney, okay? Not Jim Varney. What am I saying? Jim Downey. Jim Varney. I'm going to give you Ernest. Ernest goes to Little St. James. Oh, shit. That is crazy to think about. Ernest P. Worrell. It's a sundial. You know what I mean, Vern? I'm so sorry.
Conventional personal lives, and yet they seemed exempt from criticism. You know, Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No, let me finish.
I see it.
Jeffrey Epstein.
I see it.
No one, you know, criticizes him, and yet.
Oh, wait a minute.
That is a double standard.
Jim,
it's wrong.
Jim,
And
hold
it's
on.
okay.
Hold on.
Look,
Hold
comment.
on. Much has been said about Jeffrey Epstein. Terrible things.
No, Jeff. I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes, we're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
No.
Yes. For you to say no one ever
Jeff
said.
Epstein.
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes, the financier.
With the island.
Yes, he had an island that I've never been to. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, with respect,
I have to go back. I love this. I just love the whole delivery, all of it. I love Jim Downey so much. Stop flirting with my cousin.
Said about Jeffrey Epstein. Terrible things.
No, Jeff. I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes, we're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
No.
He did have two islands, but we're going to forgive him. We're not going to be that guy because you're wrong.
Yes, for you to say no one ever
Jeff
said.
Epstein.
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes, the financier.
With the island.
Yes, he had an island that I've never been to. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, with respect, if there was some news about Jeff Epstein, I would have heard.
No, I don't know what rock you've been under. It was a huge story, and Jeff Epstein I have to tell you, he's gone. He's dead.
What do you mean?
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Sorry, nice try. If Jeff Epstein were deceased, I'm pretty sure I would know about it. Now, I admit I've not, probably since the pandemic, I've not talked to him.
That would make sense. That would make sense. He's been dead for a number of years, Jim.
I'll tell you, there's one easy way. Let's call Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, we're not calling Ghislaine Maxwell.
Why not? Oh.
See, he says Ghislaine. And he knows them.
Okay. She's in prison. She's imprisoned for crimes she committed with Jeff Epstein.
Ghislaine's in prison.
Yes. Stop calling her Ghislaine. How do you know these people? Jim.
Conan.
Jim.
All right.
Jim, listen.
Okay.
Listen
I'm just saying, I'm your friend. You know what? It doesn't matter what you do in your private or personal.
Don't do anything in my private life.
Okay.
Probably my biggest mentor is my manager at the drive-in, Tim. He's probably the most zen person I've ever met. He don't give a care about nothing. I remember when we done the applications, I said, "What time y'all close?" He said, "We start drinking at 11." And I thought he didn't hear me. I said, "No, what time do y'all close?" And he said, "We don't have a closing time. We just got a drinking time." And that's when I knew I was dealing with a bad ace.
I was dealing with a bad ace. I fucking love Lil Bubby Wade Child. I love Lil Bubby Wade Child. God damn. Hello, Claudia. I love you too. How you doing, hun? God damn, I love Lil Bubby Wade.
When we was looking at wedding venues, it just made sense we get married the same place we met. And we met inside of an online fantasy video game. We found a minister to preside.
I'm so terrified this is going to be one of you guys one day. You'll be sitting on a couch being like, we met in the chat room for some lady who was supposed to be talking about true crime, but she was showing us weird videos and talking a lot about birds and how they fart to fly. I worry deeply. Also, that control, Jesus Christ.
When we was looking at wedding venues, it just made sense we get married the same place we met. And we met inside of an online fantasy video game.
Oh my God, I just realized this is Turd and Ernie. This is Turd and Ernie one day. And there's Stevie. Little baby Stevie. Shit. There's even a raccoon covered in blood over here. This is definitely Turd, and this is definitely Ernie, okay? And that's my head. You guys mounted my head. You finally mounted me. You said you would, and you did.
Get married the same place we met.
And there's Stevie with his earmuffs off, drinking, crawling across the floor.
When we was looking at wedding venues, it just made sense we get married the same place we met. And we met inside of an online fantasy video game. We found a minister to preside. He's a 5th level orc paladin. And we're going to honeymoon inside the game, and we're probably going to consummate our marriage inside the game. Yeah. Not everyone's supportive. Her dad don't get it. No, he don't. He looked at me and said, "Son, how you think this thing's going to work?" And I said, "Well, Harold, if you really want to know, you're going to have to pick up the controller and play the game." You can tell he really thought that one over, too.
It's the Celebrity Guide to Wine.
So I figured, like, you know, since you guys are getting bigger, you're getting older, you're starting to venture out, do new things, starting to go to parties at Conan O'Brien's house, starting to pick fights, acting a little bit too Nick Reiner for me. But since you are all getting close to overthrowing me, and I have seen you hanging out at Hollywood parties with people like, you know, on the internet, I thought, well, these kids are getting too big for their britches. They need to learn how to live the high life, okay? You guys need to start acting like the Nepo babies you are, because I got 5,000 followers, so that means my 5,000 followers are your 5,000 followers, okay? And it's kind of a big deal. Okay, you're about to start getting recognized for hanging out at bus stops. It's gonna be pretty weird. People are gonna go, "Hey, I seen you before at that other bus stop." And you're gonna need to know what to say. People are gonna say shit to you like, "Ain't your daddy Oblivious Benson?" And you're gonna say shit like, "Yeah, no big deal." You're definitely gonna get accused of crimes. People might spit at you, but it's because they're jealous, because you are rich with the truth. Okay. You know what it's like to troll Scientologists. Okay? You know what it feels like to have mental gout. All right? You don't know what magnets do, but you don't care. You know that they get stuff out the water. And because you now know the truth about birds, people are going to come down real hard on you guys. Yes, I said hard on. Stevie, earmuffs. But you guys are celebrity. You guys are celebrity now. You're Nepo babies. You're my little Nepo babies. Pretty soon, we're going to start having parties up there. We're going to have parties on the property. We're going to do stuff like this. See what I mean? You're getting pretty rich. You're getting pretty. You guys are moving up. Okay, you're my Nepo babies. You're going to be living in mansions soon. You're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. I can't stop you from it, you know? You have to make mistakes like this.
Why you go get another one? Big silly
like,
thing.
I won't do that again.
Don't get a bulldog.
Sherman,
What?
That's
Mhm.
all of my money.
See
I
that?
got the whole thing on video. That's just all of my money.
Mhm.
I get him out the first time.
In you
I
go.
knew he was about to do it again.
Come on. We're going to do this
Mhm.
again. Last time.
And this is me.
And this time,
You're on Twitter. You're popping off. And this is me. Come here, Tombs. Get out of that hole. It's Tombstones. I'm just trying to get her out. Come on, Tombs. You pissed everyone off. Now I gotta get you out of the fucking hole. And then there you fucking go in another hole. Okay?
There's a leash over here.
Laura, I want him.
Or a leash, I don't know.
Bring him to me. I'll fix him. Bring him to me. I will fix him. Laura, how are you doing? How are you doing, hun? You saving a lot of dogs? Give me that one. I want that dog. Pretty soon, Laura and Andrew are going to be doing shit like this.
Happy New Year, y'all. Let's make my first charcuterie board, and this is what I got, so don't judge me. I got this board a really long time ago. I think I got it from Hobby Lobby, but figured let's put it to use. I don't have the little glass bowls like you guys probably got, but we got Tupperware. I started out with cutting up broccoli into bite-sized pieces, and honestly, I don't know the pattern I'm going with. I'm just winging it, y'all, so don't ask me. I'm just doing it as I go. The OCD in me. I got these sweet peppers, and my kids love them. They're not hot, and they're honestly so juicy inside, and they go great with any kind of dip. I just cut them up into little thin strips so it's easier for dipping. I'll also be adding some red pepper hummus to this plate, so I got some naan bread. And I was like, I'm just gonna flour it. I've been trying to introduce my kids to different types of meats, so we got some prosciutto, and I'm gonna do the famous charcuterie flour. Now, this was very flimsy. You can see it in my face. I did not know how this was gonna turn out, but it did come out great. Honestly, I layered it around and around and around. And then once you're done, you flip it, and it's supposed to look like a flower. Beautiful. I was gonna do another flower, but this time with salami. Honestly, y'all, you can use any size cup. I chose this one because I like the size of it, but a lot of people use glass. I don't know if that makes a difference. Maybe they stick down better. I don't know, but it worked.
Oh shit. Hell yeah.
I swear to you.
Okay, I have to stop at the ranch part. We've seen enough. We've seen the meat flour. Okay. We've seen her meat cabbage. And I mean that two ways because she does have an OnlyFans. Okay. My point of all of this is you're celebs now. All right. So you need to know this kind of shit.
Guests: Dudley Moore, Kelly LeBrock, Steven Seagal, Whoopi Goldberg, Herbie Hancock, Shelley Hack, Peter Weller, and Robert Loggia. With your host, one of the top wine authorities in the United States, winner of Switzerland's most difficult wine contest at age 21, and today, maitre d' of Spago Restaurant in Los Angeles, Bernard Erpico.
Does he have a butt plug in? What is this? His body posture is Shaq about to levitate. What is going on?
Champagne.
What the fuck?
One of the top wine authorities in the United States, winner of Switzerland's most difficult wine contest at age 21, and today, maitre d' of Spago Restaurant.
Did they say most difficult wine contest? Wait, what? Why does he have such a big lanyard? What is that?
In the United States, winner of Switzerland's most difficult wine contest.
Most difficult wine contest? What the
The top wine authorities in the United States, winner of Switzerland's most difficult wine contest at age 21, and today, maitre d' of Spago Restaurant in Los Angeles.
Oh, his daddy beat the shit out of him. Also, Erpicum? Is this a fake? Bernard or Piecum? Oh, shit.
Bernard Erpico. Champagne.
Champagne, a wine of celebration, elegance, and real.
Oh, shit. Did we just make fun of... You know what? Let's just let it play.
Only wines from the Champagne region of France can rightly bear the name Champagne. Each house of Champagne has a specific style, and you will have to find the one that you like.
Champagne, or sparkling wine, fresh, fruity, and bubbly.
What the fuck is this? Everybody, eye muffs. Look, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, Steven Seagal is very special. Also, never do what she did. I don't really know what you'd call that, but don't do that. Don't ever look Steven Seagal in the eye.
You've done well.
I hope that was as good for you as it was for me.
I have a feeling it may have even been better.
Well, if you need your bottles opened, you know who to call.
Maybe I'll whistle.
Why do they have the same hair? Why are they whispering so loud? Also, all you did was uncork a bottle, ma'am. Why was that good for you? You had to work in shoulder pads.
You do know how to whistle, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Thank you all. Cheers, and cheers to you at home too. May you all enjoy wine as much as we do.
An opening 2 minutes to Mr. Vermin Supreme.
Thank you. Gingivitis has been eroding the gum line of this great nation long enough and must be stopped.
And I'm gonna let you know right now, I just put this on here to see how long you guys would stick it out. It is New Hampshire related. He does have a boot on his head, so I'm just assuming you get exactly what I'm putting down. And I'm gonna warn you this time that I'm about to abandon you. So I hope you have a good day. I'm gonna go throw magnets in water. Because I'm 41. Love you guys.
For too long, this country has been suffering a great moral and oral decay in spirit and in sizers. A country's future depends on its ability to bite back. We can no longer be a nation indentured. Our very salivation is at stake. Together, we must brace ourselves. As we cross over to the bridge work, into the 23rd century, let us bite the bullet and together make America a sea of shining smiles from sea to shiny sea. Now, friends, some people will tell you that this mandatory toothbrushing law is about the secret dental police kicking down your door at 3 a.m. to make sure you've brushed. Friends, it is not. Some will mention the dental re-education centers or the preventative dental maintenance detention facilities. It's about none of these things. It's not about the government-issued toothpaste containing an addictive yet harmless substance. No, friends, it is not even about DNA gene splicing to create a race of winged monkeys to act as tooth fairies. Friends, what this mandatory toothbrushing law is really about is strong teeth for a strong America. My name is Vermin Supreme. I am a friendly fascist. I am a tyrant that you should trust, and you should let me run your life because I do know what is best for you. Yes, I'm a politician. I will promise you anything your little electorate heart desires because you are my constituents. You are the informed voting public, and because I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make. Vote early, vote often. Remember, a vote for Vermin Supreme is a vote completely thrown away. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge my mother, who is in the audience here today. Please stand up, Mother. Please stand up. If you can stand up, please stand up. She's going to try and stand up so you can acknowledge her. This is my mother. There we go. And 5 years ago this April, I gave her a kidney. My challenge to you people, everybody on the stage and everybody in the audience, give up a kidney.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Supreme.
Mr. Supreme, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Like some of the other candidates, including former Governor Romney, this is not your, shall we say, first rodeo.
Let us say that.
This is not the first time you have run for president in the
Correct.
New Hampshire primary. And President Romney has been accused, and I'm not taking a position one way or the other, of taking different positions on different issues. I'm asking you right now, do you still stand by your pledge made in 2008 to provide a pony for every American?
Yes, I do, sir. Free ponies for all Americans, one of the overlooked issues in America today. My free pony platform is, of course, a jobs creation program. It will create lots and lots of jobs once we switch over to a pony-based economy. We'll also lower our dependence on foreign oil. We'll also be able to turn all that pony poop into methane gas and wonderful compost. So we'll be able to up our soil that is being depleted by agrochemicals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the important thing to realize is that it is a federal pony identification program where you will need your pony with you at all times. Thank you very much.
Mr. Supreme, I wanted to follow up on Ambassador Shoemaker's question.
Yes.
Regarding the ponies.
Yes.
Is that the only government entitlement program that you support? What other entitlement programs are you for?
Just that one. That's enough. But in the vein of energy production, I'd also like to address my harnessing the awesome power of zombies for energy sources. It's not just to run away from anymore. No, we have giant turbines that we're working on, and we will have lots of zombies, and we'll just sort of dangle brains in front of them, and then they will turn the giant turbines, creating energy to lessen the dependence on foreign oil in America here today. Thank you.
Mr. Supreme, your 30-second closing statement, please.
My name is Furman. My name is